So, hello and welcome everyone to public webinars by Frappe. This is one of a kind of webinar where we have one of our official partners, one of our Frappe official partners and their customer. So, for just a quick intro, I am Babita and I am the host for public webinars here at Frappe, and I'm also from the marketing team here. And we have a set of two lovely, interesting people today. Just like I said, we have Manan Shah, who is the founder and CEO of UnifyXperts, our partner. And he's also a very long time Frappe community member and has helped with a lot of ERPNext implementation. And he brings an expertise into manufacturing and supply chain implementation. So, hello, Manan.
Hi, Bobita. Thanks for having us, and really excited to be a part of this first of its kind webinar where we are hosting an actual customer along with us on this webinar.
Exactly. Even I'm looking forward to this session. Next step, who we have with us is also the featured guest of this conversation and one of Manan's, that is Unify Experts customer, that is a beadedStream. And we have the director of beaded operations at beadedStream today, who is Patrick Sirois. And Patrick, hello, how are you? And even I am no better than the audience. I would love to know more about you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Babita. We're, just a small manufacturing company up here in Alaska, and we've been making do with what we got, and we finally decided to pull the trigger on a little bit more of an advanced software. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting a little bit more into the weeds when it comes to what ERPNext has done for us manufacturing wise.
Oh, wonderful. So, just for my knowledge as well. So, Patrick, when did you begin this journey? When did you realize that you want to join beadedStream? And were you there with beadedStream from the very starting brick of its formation?
So I joined beadedStream about 2.5 years ago. My wife is full-time U.S. Air Force, and we moved up here from Minnesota. And I had been previously working with a big manufacturing company in Cirrus Aircraft. We manufactured composite aircraft from the ground up, and I had worked with them for about 7 years in the production line and right on the manufacturing line. And when we moved up here, I was looking for some sort of manufacturing job, and luckily enough, they were hiring a production manager. So I got on with them and I helped them onshore a lot of their manufacturing. So now we do everything in-house, whereas before we were subletting it out to overseas. And we were able to create a complete manufacturing line here in Anchorage. So I've been with them for since the beginning of that. The company themselves has been around for 15, 20 years. Brian, the CEO, he's been doing Arctic infrastructure data collecting for a long time. And it's been a great roller coaster that we've been on, and I'm happy to be part of the team.
Yeah, that sounds like a very interesting journey or curve I can see here from the army to director of an IoT company. So, how is the feeling right now? How do you feel to be part of such a change?
It's been really good. It's actually been a lot easier nowadays. We have a lot more quality control on our products themselves now
Mm.
that we're doing them in-house. And it's been great. The team, it's constantly growing. We're growing, so it's just the next step in becoming a bigger manufacturing company up here. We work locally with other manufacturers. So it's kind of a tight knit group of a community up here also.
Sounds really great. Uh, and very much congratulations and for this curve that you decided to take into your career journey. Now let's try and slowly reach for the agenda today, right? So we have something specific to also talk about. That is, we decided to talk on manufacturing specifically for this particular webinar, and we will keep seeing one or the other use cases as we go along. So, now, like, how were you initially managing all your processes at beadedStream, Patrick? And what has happened then? And how did you make any switch in your organization?
So when I first started with the company, we were handling everything on Excel spreadsheets. We had a CRM software. We had an inventory, or we didn't really have an inventory software at all. We had a quotation system, and everything was kind of spread out. And we had a single task manager, Asana, that was kind of somewhat the link between everything. So when customer orders would come in, we would create projects and everything would get linked in within Asana. And it was great for a point, but as we started growing, we realized that there was a lot of miscommunication happening, some things were getting missed here and there. So we started looking into a software called Fishbowl, which really we were looking to get inventory management under control and understand how much inventory we had, what our valuation levels were at, and stuff like that to get an understanding of, how exactly our company is running, when we decided to move to manufacturing in-house. With that, we did the trials and tribulations with Fishbowl, and it came out that it was not the good fit for us. We were still missing some key connectivity points, and that's when we started looking towards another system. And that was I would say, it was about in mid year of last year, 2024, when we started really looking for another software.
Hmm. So it sounded like you definitely needed a platform that or a software that unifies everything into one, system that helps you to gives you an easy access to all your documents and everything, operations and manufacturing processes. So, uh, like I really realized how this process might be. Uh, I would also now like to know how you got across UnifyXperts, and were there any process like you needed a unification? So is that something how you came across UnifyXperts, or what was the whole process like to find UnifyXpert and Manan?
Yeah, so I worked mainly our CEO Brian ran with looking for an expert in this field that could help us find the right system for us. So he interviewed about six other candidates and found that UnifyXperts had the best technical knowledge when it came to the ERPNext software, manufacturing, engineering. And that was when Brian decided on Manan and his team.
Yeah. Manan, so what made you choose this particular project? And like now that we know you are expert in manufacturing and supply chain implementation, what problems could you easily scan when you first interacted with beadedStream, and that you and your team wanted to solve?
Right. So it's interesting how, Brian found me and, how we ended up working together. So I was actually in Vietnam on another on-site. And Brian reached out to me saying that, okay, we are looking for someone who can come to the US and explain to us how ERPNext works and, answer a few questions that we have regarding ERPNext. Would you be interested? I said, why not? And luckily, I happened to have a US visa, which allowed me to, go on site to Alaska. In the month of Feb, it was very cold, but it was really a great experience being there on site, meeting people face to face. And what I realized is, um, beadedStream themselves are also a tech company, sort of, because they deal mainly in, IoT and IoT devices, cables, and stuff like that. So they, like most American businesses, they love technology. And coming from a, a very expensive labor market like US, they always love technology. They, started adding one solution at a time. They started with maybe just Google Sheets and ended up looking for something that can manage their inventory. That's when they came across Fishbowl.
Mm,
They also started using PandaDoc for their quotations. And then what I noticed is when I went there, what they had done was nothing short of amazing. They had their own makeshift ERP. So
mhm,
everything was connected with each other using Zapier. So
mhm,
Zapier is a low-code integration tool where you can, connect different softwares through API. It's a good tool, but again,
mhm,
those integrations were good up to a certain point, up to a point where they were not really scaling much. They were really small scale, and also their manufacturing was offshored. They
mhm,
were offshoring it to Asia, I think. But then when they started having everything in-house in their own facility, that's when they started facing certain challenges. And that's how, I guess, I remember Brian or Eric telling me, Patrick, that they just Googled open source ERP and then narrowed down to ERPNext, and that's how they found out ERPNext. So that was really interesting, and the way they managed to have their own makeshift ERP told me that okay, maybe this is the right company. They value technology, and this would be a great project. So that's how it got interesting for me as well.
yeah, sounds interesting. And if like how long back was this? Like when did you start working with beadedStream?
So I went to Alaska February first week of February this year.
Okay.
And I spent full 5 days with them on site, understanding their business. What do they do? How do they manage things? Um, and Interestingly, when Brian came to pick me up at the airport, Patrick, we realized that we both were civil engineers, and that's how we connected. So that was also interesting. And
Yeah.
then yeah, so uh, that's when we started, and then we understood the whole process, and then put down a
Mm.
detailed roadmap on what kind of things will be done on ERPNext, outside of ERPNext, why not on ERPNext, why on ERPNext, and all of those interesting discussions took place during that 1 week, the first week.
Yeah. Like interesting, right? It's just that it's not very long back. It's just very fresh experience. But then how you guys synergized over the similar backgrounds and similar interests is something that gets you reach the goal and the agenda faster. So
Right.
good to know that. And what was the first project or likely the first thing that you guys worked together and executed together?
So I think the first module that we implemented was CRM and sales.
Hmm.
So mainly the marketing and sales department. So we implemented the whole CRM module, and even that, included an interesting integration with their own software called Beaded Cloud. So it's a software that beadedStream uses for different things, but one of the interesting use cases is building a digital twin of their product. So we were able to send data from ERPNext to Beaded Cloud, where they created a digital twin based on whatever sales team had, promised the customer. And then from Beaded Cloud, we could push the build of that particular cable, or mainly cable, back to ERPNext. So that's one of the interesting integrations that we worked on.
Oh, this also sounds interesting, and we would love to see your use cases going forward into
Sure.
Beaded Stream. And like one just question out of curiosity, how did you guys do the execution? Like, did you guys only work along, or were you managing online? Because I understand the region gaps, right? It's Beaded Stream
Right.
is based out of America, and you are here in India. So how would the execution usually happen?
Right. So The time difference is kind of crazy. Actually, when I landed in Alaska, and that's when I realized America had that fifth time zone, apart from just four time zones that are widely known. So this is the fifth time zone, and the time difference is 14 and a half hours apart between India and Alaska.
Yeah.
So the way we executed is the requirements gathering was in person, which we
Mm,
have seen that it adds a lot of value. You get to see people in the same room. You get to gauge each other's energy and understand where are they coming from and things like that. So we spent one full week on site understanding their requirements, and then we put together a detailed plan, a requirements document, a sprint plan, and then started executing remotely. So we started executing remotely from India. A lot of trainings were also remotely because a part of their sales team is also in Canada. Um, so beadedStream mainly caters to the Arctic region, and
okay.
Canada being one of the important parts where they serve. So they have a few salespeople in Canada as well. So we did trainings online, UATs online, and then what we noticed is once they go live, it's also good to have someone on site to help them with troubleshooting, because no matter how much you practice during the UAT and all of the
Mm,
use cases that you test, but when you go live, there will be additional use cases that come up that need immediate resolution rather than waiting for someone to help you because of the time difference.
correct, correct.
Yeah,
Despite the time differences and different regions, you decided to, take a week out and then sit offline to understand the use case and then build, possible solutions. So that,
right,
that tells us that both the teams, that is beadedStream and UnifyXpert, are working towards solving some problem despite the time zone difference and the region difference. So that is interesting,
right.
amazing actually. uh, Patrick, coming back to you, let's go a bit deeper now. Okay, now let's come to the part where we talk ERPNext. So what key functions does ERPNext handle today at beadedStream?
There's actually multiple aspects of ERPNext that helps us. I talked briefly about the multiple software platforms that we use beforehand and the Excel spreadsheets that we're using to track inventory and serial numbers and
Mm,
stuff like that, which that was the big thing, right? When we decided to look for a company that was going to be able to help us do that, it was a very quick and easy selection when it came to ERPNext, just because we could have everything in one place. I hear it from my sales people all the time that it's very easy to create quotes, see information, check inventory, and we don't have to go to a different screen or download another software platform or anything like that. It's very quick and easy when it comes to that, and that's what we want, right? We decided we wanted a system that was going to be more efficient for us and something that everybody could stay on the same page with. Like I said, we had problems with communication between the different softwares. Yeah, we had Zapier, but there was still some manual labor that came into that with our software engineers. We had to create that SAP. We had to build all those webhooks out and everything like that. And it became more of a something that we had to maintain rather than just enjoy and utilize. Whereas ERP it was set, right? We actually only have one system that we're currently linking outside of ERPNext, and that's our own cloud service. That is where all the data is stored for all of our customers, and that's kind of where we got a lot of our foundational information from. And like Manan was saying, we use it to build out with the customer. So it's a customer interfaced service that our sales folks are sitting down with our customers. They're building out because all of our cables are standardly custom. Like everything when it comes to our digital temperature cables, it is custom. We can have multiple sensors, different spacings, different lengths, so it's very unique in the sense that we, we needed a system that could adapt to that customization. And ERPNext was great because we really didn't have to do a whole lot on the ERPNext side to build it out. It was more so you're making sure that we can get what's in Beaded Cloud into ERPNext and have accurate pricing and accurate bombs being created and everything like that. And when we were able to figure that out, it relieved a lot of stress, and it kind of was a really exhaling point in our process when we were building this out that everything's gonna is gonna be a lot better. It's gonna stay, everything's gonna be better and communication wise, and the customers at the end of the day are gonna be happy, right? Because they're gonna be getting what they built out with our sales folks. So ultimately it was a process to figure out how to do that. Um, we kind of unwound some internal things along the way, but it was probably one of the best integration points in ERPNext was being able to integrate our BD cloud service with ERPNext, and then all the multiple things that ERPNext can do, right? You have all the CRM tools, and we can get accounting reports, and everything when it comes to our company is relatively easily to get to, whether it's revenues or expenses and everything like that. It's very quick and easy to get to. So long story short, the the integration with the ability that ERPNext is so manipulative in the point that we can make it work for us and our custom build outs is probably the key.
Yeah, sounds really great. I mean, it actually sounds like a big project where you were already working with another ERP and you had to switch, and you switched for the good, right? I am sure it came with its own learning curve, right? You yourself and your team have to learn the process of getting handy with ERP Next. So, how long did it take for you to get hands on with ERP Next?
So, so we started out with the CRM sales team. Um, and it took, I think we would do a training session. So Manan and his team would kind of build out a training session for us. We would figure out a time that would work best for everybody, have the training, and then the next week everybody would be responsible for practicing and getting in a dev environment. So first of all, we created a practice environment for everybody. And that was where it was kind of a playing field where they could all create quotes and go through all the processes and make sure everything was going to work properly beforehand. And then we'd do a UAT training, user acceptance training, and that was where the sales folks would actually be doing the quotations and the importing or inputting of the data, and we would just walk through every step and make sure that everybody was on the same page and everybody understood how to use it. So it actually only took about a week or two to get everybody trained up on how to use it. I mean, it was a very self-explanatory system where, I mean, all the information is very spelt out on what needs to be inputted. And it was already information that all the sales folks were getting. So it was a pretty easy integration. Um, yeah, so it was probably about 2 weeks was about the time, and then you probably add a week just to go through. Once we went live, it was about 2 weeks after that that we were working through any kinks or things that came up that necessarily didn't come up in UAT. You always have that, right? You can't test every aspect of every situation, but you get the majority of it. So it was another week or two after that that we were working through a couple changes here and there that we had to push up to the production server. So
Mm. I think 2 weeks is pretty sleek and pretty quick. Because when I initially started to learn ERPNext, it took me around a month. But that is also because I do not belong to a tech background. But yeah, it sounds interesting that you were able to crack the code and everything within a month, within 2 weeks. So amazing job there. Uh, comes Takes me to another question, which is to Manan. Manan, on the same front, how did UnifyXperts make this happen? Like, it also is a question to both of you because at this front, I think customer and partner relationship matters because even if the collaboration is going well, it should go in the same direction. So, how did you make this big project and integration change smoother for beadedStream?
Sure. So, just want to clarify, Patrick mentioned 2 weeks. That was just for the sales and CRM part.
Oh,
And but yeah, even that was remarkable.
hmm,
And one of the main reasons why it went smooth was because of the change management. And I want to bring up an important point here about the project champion, right? So Patrick was a project champion from beadedStream for the ERPNext implementation. And it's also well documented on ERPNext website that, for any ERP implementation project to go smooth, one of the main requirements is to have a project champion in place. And I think Patrick exemplifies, the ideal project champion for the reason that, Patrick coming from a US military background, he really led from the front really well. Uh, and I remember those initial meetings when the salespeople or sales team used to resist, saying that we used to do it the other way on our previous software. Why should we change just for the software and things like that? So Patrick was really, he led from the front and tried to also be helpful on that, and try to educate the sales team that if we change the software for you guys, there is a lot of mm, maintenance overhead to that. And instead of that, if you guys just adapt to this one change and try to do it the way that it works best without any major customization, that's ideal case for us, because that means less maintenance for beadedStream, better long run ROI for them, right? So that's where he used to come in and make sure that the change management is smoother. Having said that, he also uh, strike that balance right between putting his foot down when he had to, right? So there were instances when he had to push us, saying that no, this is not negotiable, we are not going to do those 4 to 5 extra steps. You guys need to
yeah,
figure out how to reduce those 4 steps to either one or maybe 2 steps. So um, that's one of the main reasons why the implementation went smooth. But ERP implementations are, notorious to be, lengthy and difficult with change management. But yeah, the role of project champion is definitely, you know, very important in that change management and that journey of implementation.
yeah. So when you say project management, what exactly is this? Like, does it require any specific qualifications or expertise?
So project champion, I think one of the main qualifications or requirements for anyone to be a project champion for ERP implementations project is that they should know the whole business in and out. The simple reason being, when uh, you're onboarding someone to an ERP, it's not just one department, it's multiple departments coming together on one single software. So that project champion needs to know what is important, not just to that particular department, but then when that part is handed over to the next department, he needs to make sure the information is flowing seamlessly. And that's why they need to have a good overview of the whole business. They may not know the nitty-gritties to the T for each and everything, but they should
Hmm,
have a good understanding of the whole business.
hmm,
They should be willing to lead the project and, like I said, put your foot down at the right times, but also be flexible enough to make sure that you're not, basically they have to pick their own battles, right? You don't want to be pushing hard for every small change and delay the project.
yeah. I assume it takes a lot of leadership and decision-making skills,
Correct.
uh, what to pick and what to leave.
Right.
Patrick, what are your views and thoughts on this now that you were a project champion and you still are? Uh, how interesting was for you to be in this situation and take leadership and take decisions for your team and for your company?
Well, it was really great. It was a really great experience. I learned a lot, not only about the company. I thought I had a pretty good amount of knowledge about the company, but when you get into the nitty-gritty of each department, that knowledge just grew
Yeah,
exponentially. And not only that, but we're a fairly small company when it comes to a manufacturing facility. Like I have four people that are building products on the line, and we have four salespeople. Four of them are three. I should say, all of them are out of state, and it was a big collaboration of everybody, right? Everybody had to understand that there was going to be some times that we are going to have to sacrifice to get this across the finish line. And it was really making sure that the entire company understood that this was going to become better for us. Like this was the best move for the company. And I had a lot of support from my senior leadership, Brian, the CEO, Eric, the COO, our CFO, and everybody was very supportive of what we were trying to do. So that was the first thing that we wanted to make sure was everybody was supportive and we were going to get through this no matter what, right? Ultimately, it was a team effort. Yes, I am the project champion, but everybody was very they worked with me well. Let's put it that way. Everybody worked with me well. They worked with Manan well, even though there was a big time change. Everybody understood that Manan and his team may not get back to us right away, but they were certainly getting back to us as soon as they could. I would imagine it was probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning at sometimes when we were getting messages back, which was, when you look at it, it's very appreciative of the hard work that Manan and his team did. There was a lot of things that we asked Manan and his team to do that came out better than what we expected. So it was great. I think that answered your question.
yeah, that definitely does. And like you were with a set of certain decisions, and when everyone are on the same page, that decision just gets easier to implement. Manan, now that I got to know that you were completely into this project and you were helping beadedStream in and out, how has your journey been with beadedStream and supporting them into their initiatives?
Well, the journey has been great, right from, the requirements, understanding to documenting the requirements, putting together a plan. Uh, the support from my team here at UnifyXperts was also great. We had, great developers and consultants help us implement all the modules all the way. And we got to learn a lot of new things. So I would like to share a few stories here. So when I was on site, Eric, who's the COO, Chief Operating Officer of beadedStream, he's very tech savvy, and he asked me, "Is there a way to integrate? Whenever a sales order is won, we want to send it to our Google chat group. So, is there a way to do it?" And I said, there should be a way. Knowing Frappe framework, there should be an easier way of, just hooking up the credentials and, firing this API call or webhook call. And I just looked up, I just did a Google search for, ERPNext webhooks, and there was a doc type called webhook. So I would like to share my screen quickly and to just
Yeah, please.
show a few good features over here. Yeah, so a quick background on beadedStream, what they do. So this is beadedStream. And yeah, so these are the cables that I was talking about. So these are the cables that are made, and these sensors read the temperatures. It's attached or logged into this logger. Yeah, so it's attached to this logger, and this logger talks to the satellite and sends the data to the uh, database, which is Beaded Cloud application. So that's what beaded stream does basically. And most of the installations are remote in the Arctic region. So these are some good pictures of summer, but I'm sure they go to the North Slope and it's the environment or the weather is really harsh. So really appreciate what they are doing. And so
Yeah,
coming
very
back,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. And then coming back to, so this is the dev environment. And yeah, so webhook. So this is framework feature standard. So sync, Google Chat, sales order notification. So this is the dev environment. That is why it is disabled. But basically, what you do is you define what doc type do you want to trigger a notification. You say sales order on what event. You can define your conditions. You can define the request URL where you want to send this webhook. What method do you want to use? What is the request structure? Um, you can also background enqueue it, enable security, and then using Jinja tags, you can define your own payload data that you want to send. So things like these make it really easy to integrate things. And we've used this for even more complex applications. So I would like to show you a quick use case, which is the the quotation syncing that we were talking about. So if I go to quotation, um, and if I create a quotation, let's say the quote name is Ice Road Design 2, customer is Ice Design and Consult. Mm, So these are some internal metadata that is used by beadedStream. So you select a project, you select the item. You don't need to set the rate because that is going to come from the digital twin platform that I was talking about, which is Beaded Cloud. So you say what quantity, this is the cable item code for the cable. You save it. And then again, this is just workflow, think fancy. So you click on send to Beaded Cloud, right? And as soon as you do that, you see a button here called View on Cloud, and that takes you to the Beaded Cloud platform. So this is the application that they already had. And obviously they didn't want to, reinvent the wheel, build this whole thing out in any ERP or anything like that. So all of that was possible because of, power of open source and power of Frappe framework. You are open to integrate with whatever you want. There is no lock-in, nothing like that. So you click on this cable, and then this is the part where you can design the cable, right? So let's say I want three sensors at zero point 0.4 spacing, zero point 0.4 meter spacing. So this way you build out the digital twin, right? And then just save, and then you will see a message here, ERPNext sync successful. And if I go back to ERPNext, you will see beadedStream just edited now. So those are the API credentials that sync back the data.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see it updates the rate, and that is done by updating the BOM. So it creates a BOM as well. So all of this was pretty easy to do just because how Frappe framework was built, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what was really interesting. So use cases like this, when you can implement something as comprehensive as this
Yeah.
simply by using certain doc types and not by writing a lot of code, that's when it really
Makes
is
it easy.
interesting. And it's very satisfying for us because uh, even I'm from a non-tech background. I'm not a developer, but if I can do things like this without minimum code, it really fascinates me and excites me about the possibilities.
Yeah, sounds interesting actually. Even I'm from a non-tech background, but when I was doing and I was going through all these doc types and how to set up notifications and things, it was pretty
Right,
interesting that I can do it myself. I do not need any developer kind of an angle to do it. So it was
right.
interesting. And how long did this particular customization, take you? Like, how long did it take for you to do this?
So this particular use case in itself was probably a day or two. And that's because, like I said, beadedStream themselves are also a tech company.
Yeah.
So Jason is a developer on their side who was really helpful, and he had all those endpoints made out really well, and he understood how APIs and webhooks work, and so he was really helpful in getting us the right endpoints with the right way. That is why such integrations were very really quick.
Mhm. Um, Awesome. I think awesome work by Unify experts. And yeah, open source really helps to do things your way and particular use cases.
Right,
Since beadedStream is doing something that is very niche and very unique in itself, your open source can make the job easier by
right.
giving you the space to play and do things as you like, as you wish. So, Patrick, let me come to you by the meantime. Um, let's be honest and let's try to see how would you, if I were to talk about the outcomes and the return on what was done on the implementation part, right, by Unify experts. So, how are the outcomes right now? How are the returns right now? Are you seeing visible results? Are you seeing visible growth? What is it like for Beaded Stream after the switch to an ERP next?
Yeah, right. So we're fully implemented. We're currently finishing up the accounting module, which is probably one of the more technical modules because it kind of ties together everything,
Hmm.
right? So you know the manufacturing is was a big portion of that. We see that every day. I don't see the sales side as much, but I hear from the salespeople that it's been working well. And
Hmm.
honestly, if I don't hear anything from them, that's a good thing because we don't necessarily want to be, if I don't hear that there's issues, that means there's no issues, right? So the manufacturing side, I see every day. There was a process that was created, the batch job processing. It's a we build a lot of cables, and a lot at times when a customer orders them, they'll order between one or 10 of them, all the same. And then different customers will have different requirements, obviously, but usually they order them in a specific quantity. And
Hmm.
that was one of the main requirements when we were building it was how can we build multiple cables at the same time and acknowledge the different steps. There's 10 steps to each cable build, and I don't necessarily want to have our technicians going from screen to screen, acknowledging that I'm starting this cable and I'm ending this cable, and now I'm doing the same process with another cable. We like to do it in batches. So that was one of the big requirements that I asked of Manan and his team was to help me create a single screen, right? Because I was very against jumping between different screens and adding more time, adding more clicks. I want it to be very easy for the our technicians to just acknowledge what cables they're working on, what operation they're doing, and then hit go. That was it. And Manan and his team spent, I mean, we worked on this for a good week just trying to make sure that it was set up right and we were getting all the right information that go through. Um, and that we were able to have multiple technicians work on the same operation and not one of them get closed out from another. So it took a little bit, but him and his team, they got it done. And and I see that every day, right? I'm back there checking in, making sure that everything's working properly and the ERP system is giving us what we need. But not only that, but it actually shows us exactly how much time we're spending on the product. So we get an accurate cost of goods, sold amount from it. It takes in how much we can put in the default settings, how much we spend or how much we essentially internally charge per hour. And it takes that and it calculates it out and we get an accurate cost for that product, which is essential for understanding, how much money we spend building cables, right? It's a huge part of our business is building cables. That's what we specialize in. And understanding how much we're actually spending on building these is a huge value to us.
Yeah. That sounds like you have come a long way into actually seeing the profits and seeing the good side of an ERP now when you work in and out in your company. So, has there been any visible change in terms of profits that you were earlier making, or maybe visible change in terms of the time that you're now saving with the ERPNext and with
Well,
the help of UnifyXpert with all the customization?
yeah, so I mean, specifically, we've saved a lot of money just on switching over to a single software. We've probably saved over $60,000 a year just by switching over to a single software. We were spending, X amount of money
Yeah,
monthly to run our four different services, and we've been able to cut all of them out. So that in itself has been worth it for the company. Not to mention that the time savings, you're talking 5-10 minutes each quotation or each time you're creating an order that you're saving for our sales folks to go and create the orders because they don't have to go between different software screens. Like they're doing everything at on one screen and it's saving them time. So they're able to I could get a call right now from a customer and I can open up ERPNext and I could type in who I'm talking to and acknowledge everything that the conversation that we're having. And then I can create a quote out of that conversation, right? It's so quick and easy for us. It saves us time. We don't have, I think after this year, once next year will be a full year. So the year of 2026 will be a full year of us using ERPNext and no other service. We'll get a really good understanding of really how much time and how much
yeah.
money we've saved.
Hmm. Yeah, that way there'd be an estimate of how you saved, how much you saved, money-wise and time-wise, overall in a year working with the ERPNext. Um, I would personally love to know and any feedback that you have, like in terms of positive, negative, we are open to everything. Is there any particular hiccup or any instance where you realize that maybe this could have been better? Uh, Maybe whenever you're working with UnifyXpert, or maybe just ERPNext as an instance, as a platform, could anything could have been better or anything like that? Have you ever experienced?
Well, the ERPNext, as its own platform, as open source, was pretty generous with its abilities, how we wanted it to work for us and everything like that. There's really not a lot I can say badly about it. I mean, everything that was bad about it, I would tell Manan, and him and his team would figure out a solution. So
Yeah.
it was pretty perfect in that sense. Working with Manan, you have a time difference. We just had to figure it out. I would have loved to have him up here more. There was a time when it was not that long ago, actually, Manan had a trip scheduled to the US and I asked that he come up here for another week because we were implementing the manufacturing module, which was a really big hands-on type of process. And I didn't want the production line to get stopped for a whole day just because of the time difference. So I actually requested him to come up here. He spent a week And then even after that week, he was about to go back home to India, and we were still having some problems and we needed them fixed. And I asked that he just stay in the US just to stay in a relevantly soon time zone that wasn't too effective on his life and his business. And so the one thing that I would have loved was to have him all the time. I mean, we probably would have made this whole process would probably been a little bit faster if I could have had him the whole time. But understandably, I mean, if that's the only thing bad that I could say, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Whenever I try to ask people about the pitfalls or anything nitty-gritty that they uh, came across the ERPNext, most of the times there's none. But it's also our like due credits goes to our partners, because Manan and Unify Expert, though being emerging partners, they are doing so much for so many businesses. So hats off Manan on that front. Um, Manan, now we got to know about Patrick's opinion about Unify Expert and how you guys are helping them. Any thoughts about beadedStream and the work they're actually putting forward is actually, I can see the value. I can see how niche they're going to solve some particular problems in the society. What are your thoughts on this particular use case, and how long do you see your journey with beadedStream, and how would you further would like to be involved in this particular use case or project?
So I think we're almost at the end of the implementation. The accounts module will go live December 1st. The accounts module is right now in the UAT phase, where the accounting team, including the accountants from their CPA, are trying to practice more hands-on in a different environment. And we'll have more feedback. And then I'm planning to travel back to Alaska in December second week for the go live, and help them with the accounts module go live. Because as Patrick said, accounting is where everything merges, right? Everything merges into the accounting module. It will all start showing up on your balance sheet and profit and loss statement. And if things don't add up, then you've got to figure out what's going wrong, put guardrails wherever necessary, so that if it's a data entry related issue, make sure you have the guardrails in place so that those mistakes do not happen again. Train the end users on what's the right way to do it and things like that. So that's our next step. That's our major milestone, coming milestone. Um, Once that is done, I would ideally love to explore, how Frappe framework and not just ERPNext can help them build their own suite of products that they are trying to build. Because data is the new oil, and data is what they are collecting. So I'm sure Frappe products would be a great fit for the other suite of products that they are trying to build. And interestingly, they even um, even after being a startup, they have an interesting spin-off coming out. Uh, uh, so Beaded Cloud is now going to be a separate entity, and they're going to, market Beaded Cloud, the platform, for the Arctic region data itself, and
Mm,
sell it, try to, provide more insights on that Arctic region data. So I'm
mm.
sure Frappe framework and Frappe products can add a lot of value on that front. So that's something interesting that we'll try to pursue in the future.
Yeah, good to know about the plans actually.
Yeah,
And I just wish you guys go along a really long journey and put together many more use cases, fight many more projects. Uh, Manan, is there any particular use case you would like to show our audience upon manufacturing
sure,
that you did for beadedStream?
sure. So I think one of the interesting use cases that even Patrick mentioned is the bag job process. Um, so what we have done is we've created a custom. Uh, Give me just a moment. We've created a custom manufacturing execution system. It's usually called MES, but it's just a fancy word. If I translate it for the Frappe verse, it's nothing but a doc type or a form that we have created, which in the backend talks to the core doc types. So let me just show that particular use case real quick. Yeah. So as Patrick mentioned, they build out those cables that I showed with different configurations, but the process is still the same. So some cables will need sensors at a different distance. The receiver will be, some kind of a different device, and but the process of building that cable is pretty much the same. Only the measurements tend to change, and with a minor change here and there. So one of the major pain points for them was how do we standardize this process in the most simple way? So before switching to ERPNext, they were managing all of this on a Google Sheet, which is very easy to use. But again, spreadsheets have their own limitations of, there's no access control, there's no scalability and things like that. And when we mapped the whole thing out, we figured out that on ERPNext, if you want to measure time on the manufacturing processes, it's mainly the job card. But one limitation with the core doc type job card was you can only have, again, so these cables are serialized, right? Because they want traceability throughout its life cycle. So if it's a serialized item on the existing doc type job card, you can only have one serialized item on one job card, which meant that if they are producing 5 quantities of the same type of cable, they have to record the time on 5 different job cards, even though they are working only once. So entering that data on job card itself would become another job, right? So that's not ideal. So what we did is we just created a layer on top of that job card, and we called it batch job process. And that's what people call in the ERP or the manufacturing industry as manufacturing execution system. So if we go to batch job process, so this is one of the batch job process. So if you see right now, I have a very simplified batch job process, which is basically on 2 work orders, but it could be obviously 5, 10 work orders. And then each work order, sorry, this is 1 work order and 2 operations, right? So let's say if one work order has 10 different operations, uh, and let's say you had 10 cables to build, so 10 times 10, you would have 100 different job cards to work on. So in order to simplify, we unified everything using the batch job process, where they can, select the serial numbers they are working on. So let's say they're working on 10 different cables or 10 different serial numbers. They can record who's working on it, right? What is the operation that's going on? They can start the timer, pause the timer, complete the timer, all the standard features that the job card has. And then in the backend, we would update the respective job cards automatically, right? So these are the job cards that get updated, right? So that's how we simplified that problem, build a layer of doc type on top of job card to simplify the data entry. Sorry, Babita, I think you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I wonder it has saved a lot of time actually that way. So amazing customization. And this was when, is it a recent customization or?
So we started customizing this about 4 months back, and this has been live for about 3 months, I would think. Yeah.
Okay, so the team is using this day in and day out.
Yes, they are.
Great, great. So that is one particular use case we did see. And since this webinar was focused on the conversation between a partner and a customer, we kept it heavier on that side. But there are many more things that actually Unify Expert has done for beadedStream, and that Patrick, would you love to add anything else that comes up to your mind when it comes to customization and the needs for your business before we actually move towards the last leg in Q&A?
Um, I don't, I mean, it was the biggest thing that ERPNext allowed was it being open source and manipulative to what we needed. We didn't have the batch top processing and the work orders, like we didn't have those in the past. Um, we had documents, PDFs that
Mm-hmm.
technicians would follow and reference when they're building cable, and that was it. We had no tracking of time or who was doing what, and that's what this allowed us, right? And it was a little bit of a shock to the system when we integrated this into the manufacturing line, as you could imagine, going from not really tracking anything at all to tracking everything and seeing what's next.
Yeah.
It gives our technicians a lot better of understanding of like how much work there is to do. So that was a big thing, right? We went from a whiteboard in the back to seeing all the orders up to an Excel spreadsheet to now they can just click on, filter by date what cables are due when, and it's all in the same system, right? So they've enjoyed it. They've been able to see the direct impact
Mm.
that it's had on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of the biggest thing that's affected us.
Yeah. Great to know that it is working in your favor, and that ERPNext was able to justify the switch that you made from different ERP. So, on an ending note, Patrick, for American businesses or specifically manufacturing businesses in America and the audience considering a shift to ERPNext, what practical advice do you have from a user point of view?
Make sure that it's for you, right? I mean, the ultimate goal is to make it easier for your company to run, right? I mean,
Mm.
that's what everybody wants. What system is going to work best for them? What system is going to get them all the information? So you have to really understand what the goals are for the company and if it makes sense. It is time. Like there is a lot of time that it was put into getting ERPNext set up for us. So do you have that time? Do you have somebody that can really, take the project from the start and to the finish? It's really important to be able to have a project champion like myself. It was if if you have a group of people that are all doing the same thing and you'll have different ideas and no one to really continue pushing the agenda, the goals, right?
Yeah.
So definitely make sure it's right for you. Like I said multiple times, it is pretty manipulative to just about anything you need. So you can use the default, the way that the default foundation of ERPNext, and it may work fine. If you're getting into custom things and you want to integrate it with some sort of software that you have, then you can do that too. But you have to understand it's going to take some time. It's going to
Yeah.
take some specialized folks to make sure those integrations work. And then you have to think about maintainability. We're lucky enough that we're a tech company and we have local software engineers and embedded engineers that, beyond the work that we'll use Manan and his company for, we'll be able to maintain this system because every software engineer and embedded engineer has been right next to Manan and kind of learning and understanding how ERPNext framework works. So you have to make sure that you have somebody that can maintain it. But also, Manan and his team, they're great, right? So you'll always be able to use them or whoever the consultant is you have, make sure that that's kind of something you work into the deal, right? Long-term maintainability if you don't have it. Because there will be times where you'll need it. You'll need the support, and that's huge, right? Other than that, I would say when you do go down that route to implementation and you plan on using any sort of accounting, I would try and get that wrapped into the process earlier than later. Um, we did kind of put on start with the accounting steps a little bit later than we probably should have. There's some key components as far as items and groups and how they're all linked. It's not saying it's a bad, but it added a little bit more time
Yeah.
to the implementation of the accounting module where I would have really preferred it been done a couple months ago, but now we're implementing it in the beginning of December. So definitely make sure you have you understand the framework of your company, you know what aspects you want to implement, and just get a really good baseline at the beginning. And then that way it'll foreshadow really how much time and effort you're going to spend over the next 6 to 8 months to get it implemented.
That's some piece of golden advice right there for our attendees. Make sure it's for you. Make sure the software is for you. Make sure you're ready to give in the efforts and time to actually get yourself well versed with that particular software and just get started. And also the third one, which might be very specific, is uh, start with accounting faster. So that's great, actually. Manan, do you have any end note for people who are actually switching to manufacturing or belongs to manufacturing already and are looking to switch for the ERP?
Yeah, I think Patrick hit the right notes. Um, I think he covered the whole life cycle of implementation really well. The first one being, start with the end goal in your mind, be
Hmm.
very clear on what you want. That's the beginning. The
Hmm.
second is uh, necessity of having a project champion in place is really
Yeah.
important. Third, although, Frappe framework, ERPNext is very flexible, and, changing things is possible, I would say. So it's not like any proprietary ERP where, changing stuff is not possible, but with power comes responsibility, right? So you have to use that responsibility very responsibly. The reason being, again, it connects back to maintainability. So if you want something to be maintainable, change or customize things responsibly. Make sure whatever you're customizing, you'll be able to support the maintenance, right? So you need a good consultant, and lastly, I would say, which kind of connects with our experience and beadedStream's experiences, ERP implementations are more of a consulting project
Hmm.
than a tech project. Tech is obviously the backbone of it,
Yeah.
but what ties everything together is consulting, right?
Hmm.
So if you know what you want, you need a consultant or a team of consultants who will try to marry your goals with the product features, with the business domain that you are in. Uh, Tying all of that together, marrying all of that together is where the role of a consultant or a consulting team or a partner like us is. So make sure you have that in mind. And then lastly, as Patrick said, maintenance is an aspect that, people think that since it's open source, it's okay, let me get the software and then we'll figure out what to do. But uh, it should be the other way around. Because it's open source and you will end up customizing a lot of things, you should think of maintainability right from day one, which
Hmm.
means that you'll customize it very responsibly and not left and right just because you
Yeah.
can. So I
Correct.
think those are some of the points that can help the
Hmm.
manufacturers or any business trying to implement ERPNext.
Yeah, you need to have an end goal in your mind, and then consultants and partners like Unify Experts are there to help you out in your journey. And
Right.
that's something with that we will move towards the Q&A session now, wherein if we do have three questions that I can see right now. But guys,
Sure.
if you have any other questions, then you can directly raise your hand and we can just start with you, and you can get in touch with Patrick and Manan directly right now. We have three questions in the chat box. Let's first answer that.
Sure.
I guess it's for Patrick. Was there any issue moving from QuickBooks to ERPNext specifically for accounting? Did you have to make any changes to accommodate US accounting rules?
So I'm not an accountant, so I probably can't answer this question as technically as the question is referring to. But I can say that the QuickBooks is we're still using QuickBooks at the moment. We haven't completely converted over. So we're still learning at what that may look like, in a sense. I guess that's really all I can say because we really haven't gotten into what it's gonna look like without QuickBooks involved. Like I said, this was one of my suggestions was to look at the accounting early on in the whole process, so you can get a better understanding. And this is one of the unfortunate parts of that we're dealing with now is how does getting rid of QuickBooks look for us and using ERPNext. Right now we're doing the testing phase of this entire thing of the accounting module, should say, and we're doing both, right? So we're doing payables, receivables in QuickBooks, and we're doing it in ERPNext, so we can understand what the input output is. So we're still kind of in the troubleshooting phase of that. I would suggest that I could have some more information in about a month or two. I'd be able to answer that a lot better.
Yeah, Manan, would you also that
Yeah,
actually gives us a user point of view definitely. With is there any technical angle to it, Manan?
sure. Yeah. Let me just add to that. You don't have to make any changes to accommodate to the US accounting rules. ERPNext is US GAAP compliant. Actually, US GAAP is more to do with accounting practices than your accounting software. So you don't have to make any changes or customization or to your process. What you do need to be aware of is that QuickBooks uses mainly periodic accounting for the inventory valuation, and ERPNext by default uses perpetual inventory valuation. So what that means is, in really brief terms, is every stock movement on ERPNext will affect the general ledger, whereas on QuickBooks you update the inventory accounts periodically manually. So it's better in terms of automation. But having said that, every entry that you make affects the GL, which means that people who are using ERPNext, including the inventory module, need to be, sensitized about this fact that, whatever you do is going to affect accounting. So they need to be more responsible about it. And uh, in case of beadedStream specifically, what we've seen is using ERPNext uh, will hopefully add a lot of value to them in terms of accounting, because now they can look at the COGS, cost of goods sold, by their product line. So they can look at, okay, what are the cost of goods sold at each invoice level, at each product line level, or at each product, right? Which would not have been possible with QuickBooks because you make inventory accounting entries as an adjustment post fact and not in real time. So it's an upgrade, but that upgrade needs some responsible sensitization and some education to the end users. That's the only trade-off, to be honest, but it will definitely add a lot of value.
Yeah, that should answer the question as well. Gaurav is asking, does beadedStream intend to integrate their store with ERP, or is it already integrated?
So the store we on our beadedStream website we do have a store. It's mainly for our standard equipment, standard products. It is currently not integrated with ERPNext, but we do plan on trying to integrate it later. Right now, we're still building out the store. We actually technically haven't released that it's live. Um, and that is one of the integrations we're working on, is making sure that all the information that you're gathering in the storefront for the customer is matches what ERPNext needs. For the time being, it's going to be a manual process where we'll get an email that an order was placed and we'll put it in ERPNext. And yes, the goal is definitely to have that integrated, because we do not want that manual process in the future. But just because the store is so new for us, it's going to be a manual process. It also helps us understand what the store is going to do, and kind of what information we're going to need to edit later.
Yeah. So Lucas is asking, where do you host the app? Frappe Cloud or on premises?
It is on Frappe Cloud right now, and we are using the $50 plan. It's that easy. So right now, since they've gone live recently, the data is not much. So that's the reason why we are using the $50 plan. And as and when they scale, Frappe Cloud will be able to, support that growth.
Yeah.
Is the developer using AI during the development process? Is it possible in Frappe? So there are certain AI tools that are built for Frappe development by the community, but we have ourselves not used AI for this project as yet. We have not adapted AI for development. We do some, debugging here and there with the help of AI, but we are not vibe coding as yet, because as it is, the syntax and everything is pretty easy and it's not that complicated. But we do a little bit of vibe coding here and there, just look up certain things, but we don't vibe code in detail. Like, we don't have AI built into our CLIs or anything like that as yet.
Okay. Hope that answers your question, Gaurav. Guys, I'll wait for 30 more seconds. If you have any more questions, to raise your hand and you'll be able to directly talk to Manan and Patrick. In case there's no question, we will move towards the final leg. Yes, RC, that is something that you've written on your username. Yes, RC, would you like to go next?
I'll add a question. How many different users do you have inside your system?
Do you mean like number of users or different types of users?
Different types of users. And did you customize types of users for beadedStream?
Yeah,
So
I mean, you can customize permissions for everybody. I don't think there is a limit on how many users we can have in there. And as far as I know, there's no extra charge for any users. So there's kind of two platforms. There's a user platform and then there's an employee platform. And users is basically you have access, and then as an administrator, you can limit the access to specific modules. So let's say you only want your sales folks working in the CRM and sales. You can limit them to all the manufacturing and inventory and stock and everything like that. And then you have the employee side of things, where employees are the ones clocking in on the work orders. So they have to be employees and have been created as employees in order to acknowledge any work done within those modules.
Could you speak on if you've had to let's say an employee did the right thing, but maybe they forgot to clock in. How difficult was it to go in and update information? If you've had that situation.
Yeah, we've had our technicians where they've forgot to clock in on an operation, and as long as even if the operation's submitted, you can still cancel it and amend it and add time to said operation later on. There's a section where it shows all the time logs for each employee by the employee number, what time they started, what time they finished, how much time they put in total, and that table itself is editable to a certain permission.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arsi, for your question. I do not see a lot of questions coming in. So I'm assuming people were enjoying the conversation more than the technical side of anything. Yeah, that takes us to the very last leg of this webinar. I think it was very interesting, very lovely, and I hate to do this, but now that we have to move towards the end of the session, it's just very wholesome to see that we only get to work closely to our partner managers, like our partners. So Unify Expert is one of our partners. So similarly, we are working with many partners. So the the customer side of story from the partners is something we rarely get to see such close up. So that was very interesting that we get to learn about beadedStream and how our partner is helping beadedStream to achieve their goals and how beadedStream is maybe getting benefited or is facing any problem that ERPNext can take up, and we would love to jump in and solve it for you. So interesting and very amazing, and very amazing experience to actually have both of you today here. Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you so much, Manan, for giving us your time. And Patrick, since we do not get in touch and we do not get to talk before as well, how was your experience into such kind of webinar? Have you done this before? And just sum up with anything you have in your mind.
Yeah. I mean this is the first webinar that I've ever been on a panel for, so I felt like it went pretty good. Yeah, it was good. I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate Frappe for setting this up and getting us together so we could kind of share our experience and hope that there's other manufacturers out there that will benefit from this. I'm
Yes.
just putting my information. If you
Yeah.
need to someone asked if they want to get a hold of me. I just put my email address in the chat. Feel free to email me anytime, and or straight to our through our website. You can get a hold of me.
Yes, definitely. We did have like around 22 people joining us, but that's just the beginning. We will move towards scaling this particular kind of webinar where we come together with a partner and a customer. And I would love to hopefully see you again once the accounting is done, or achieve more projects and solve more problems and give solutions out there in your region with help of Unify Expert. And UnifyXpert and beadedStream should keep getting and growing stronger with each other is something that I hope for. And very happy to have both of you for this panel today. Thank you for giving your time, Patrick, and thank you for giving your time, Manan. Hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed
thank
this.
you, Babita.
Yeah, thank you. And I will definitely be available if you want to have another webinar.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's good to
That's really kind of you. Thanks, guys, for joining this webinar. We'll have another webinar tomorrow. So see you there. And yeah, have a great day, Patrick. And have a really good night, Manan.
Thank you.